You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days fans. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we've got a comings and goings update for you. I've got news about Gwen and Stefan and Gabi and Kate and more as we dig into the latest casting updates for the NBC Peacock streaming soap opera. Please click subscribe if you haven't, and now let's dig in. First, let's talk about Gwen Rizczech. You know, she's been gone a minute, racing out of Salem to get away from cheating Dimitri Von Douchebag and her lying husband, boinking ex-bestie Leo Stark. Gwen took off for Alemania to see if she could steal his inheritance for herself, but really, it was all done to free up Emily O'Brien to take over as Teresa Donovan from Jen Lilly. I have to say, I'm getting pretty used to seeing her in the role, blonde wig and all, and I generally don't think about Gwen much when I look at Emily on these scenes now. But then they just flipped the script. Chad DiMera had a call with Gwen, and they actually dragged Emily out of the blonde wig and had her appear as the bad girl Brit for a couple of scenes. So it was kind of intriguing because to me that hints Gwen's not gone for good just for now. What we've heard, though, is that Emily O'Brien is still filming, and she's filming as Teresa Donovan, not Gwenny, for the most part. So Emily's going to stick around, but will she swap parts again? I mean, it seems time's going to run out at some point because Teresa's going to be outed for faking the will to give Alex Kidiakis the fortune and status that belonged to Xander Cook. The initial storyline outline for Jen Lilly was set to unfold over 12 weeks starting in early July. That would have ended end of November, but it definitely looks like they've extended the character's run. So that could mean Xander will remain in the dark about him being Victor Kiriakis' son for a bit longer than any of us originally anticipated. So in the end, though, once it all comes out, Teresa may not be able to stick around permanently, although I do say I'm honestly enjoying Teresa more than I did Gwen. So if I have to pick and choose, I'd like to see more of Emily O'Brien as Teresa, and I think Gwen can stay fortune hunting in Alemania and beyond. So next, let's address the Lauren Koslow thing. She was shown, supposedly, she was shown on the credits in the recurring section on Days. I do want to say Days of Our Lives is funny with their credits. They seem to be done independently and specifically for each episode, and they are radically inconsistent in what and who they include. Not every Days episode end roll includes actor credits at all. Sometimes it's just writers and producers and other crew. Other days it's all the crew, like tons of crew credits, no actors. Other days it's cast, showrunners, and crew. And then when they do have actors, sometimes they list like every character that's still appearing on the show right now. And then sometimes they seem to include just the ones on that particular episode. So it is just wildly inconsistent. Maybe there's a pattern there and I'm just not seeing it because I'm not going to beautiful mind this thing, but it's really weird. Most of us, I think, scroll past credits, but for purpose of this video, I actually spent a lot of time looking at credits. So fans said that she dropped to the recurring section on a reliable source, in addition, said as of November 13th, she was in the recurring section. So her last episode up to now was October 30th. I went to the November 13th credits and she wasn't listed at all in the credits. And then I looked on the 14th and then I looked at a whole bunch more. And I don't see her in contract or recurring, but a ton of sites, of course, did the tabloid thing immediately, posting about her being gone, her being fired, her being out as Kate. You know, realistically, Lauren Koslow in the past few years, I think, has been probably recurring more than she's technically been on contract, because she just hasn't had a lot of front burner storylines. Now, she did with the whole death thing and then the whole heaven thing and then the whole Megan Hathaway thing, but right now she just isn't needed for any of the front burner stories and hasn't really since her son, Philip Kidiakis went away and after Victor's funeral and all that, she really isn't needed that much. We don't see Roman a lot either, so no, I don't think she's on contract, but I don't think she's been fired or anything. I just think they don't need her right now. I looked through weeks of those credits, by the way. So if any of you actually personally and specifically saw her listed in the recurring section with your own eyeballs, please drop the date. Don't tell me what other people are saying. Only tell me if you saw it yourself, because I looked at a ton of credits and I didn't see her at all. And before October 30th, she was in the contract area. So, and just if you don't know about the credits, it's like the first several people are contract, and then the next people are recurring, and then the people at the end are like guest stars, people that just show up now and then for things, special guest stars. So, all right, now I want to talk about Brandon Barash's status at Days of Our Lives, because it ties into this Lauren Koslow chatter and into the Gabi Hernandez update I'm about to give you. So Soap social media went nuts in late October because they said Brandon Barash had moved from contract to recurring in the end credits in his role as Stefan DiMera. And then a bunch of tabloids started writing stuff. Brandon Barash is out, saying he was fired, and just the usual rabid, baseless speculation. So none of that's true. Most of these headlines were just flat out lies, like one that just said Brandon Barash out. That's from a site that's owned by a group of 5 sites that likes to spread the same lies to make them look more legit. Others said he was just recurring and maybe out. So here's what happened. Whoever does those credits, one day they just put him in the wrong section. They screwed up. So everybody was talking about this one day that he's back to recurring, and either they never checked to see if it was consistently him in the recurring section or not. And no, I've looked at a bunch of credits, and yeah, he's definitely in the contract section. And none of these people that were writing Brandon Barash out, I didn't see any new articles titled "Whoops, we're idiots" and said Brandon Barash is out when he wasn't, but that's not something that people want to take accountability for. So again, Days does their credits differently, but he is definitely in the contract section. Still, you can see him right at the top of the credits on most days. So it would be nice if people would follow up, give it a day or two before screaming that an actor has been fired. Brandon Barash is not on recurring. He's still on contract. And this is just hysterical, overzealous nonsense. I knew it was from the moment I saw it, because the storyline is all set up for a Stefan and Gabi reunion, a stabby reunion, if you will. And that leads to this last bit of comings and goings news we have. So I heard a tidbit of somebody who might be playing recast Gabi Hernandez. I'm going to show her to you. She's a beauty. She's somebody that I recognized as, I've seen her in things. I saw her in one episode of a show that I really loved, but off the top of my head, she wasn't somebody whose name I could remember. But when I looked at her picture, I was like, oh yeah, I know who she is. So I think she's a perfect fit to play Gabi and fill Camilla Banus' shoes if she did indeed land the role. She had an episode of Pretty Little Liars. It was one small role. I love that show, and I do remember her. It was a very good episode. She has done NCIS. She did a series called Nova Vita and a bunch of small to mid-sized movies. She is Puerto Rican, Dominican, Italian, Spanish, and Sicilian, and grew up a native New Yorker. The actress's name is Cherie Jimenez Ferris, and she's 36 years old, just to compare to Camilla Banus's 33 years old. They resemble pretty well enough for it not to be jarring, like the Gwen Teresa swap thing. She's not a huge name, so she's probably, pretty affordable, because Days doesn't exactly have a megabucks budget. And of course, there's no word officially on this. It is chatter, but a lot of times chatter has legs. And just at a glance, I think she'd be a really good fit. And what gives this a little more oomph is Brandon Barash started following her on Instagram recently. She followed him back. She also follows Raven Bowens, who of course plays Chanel, Carson Boatman, who plays Johnny, and she followed Peacock pretty recently. So right now, of course, the storyline is ripe for a recast. Gabi is sitting in stateside Statesville unseen, but she's waiting on her trial. So they could leave her there, a couple more weeks, a couple more months, but realistically, not indefinitely, because she's waiting to be brought to trial. Either EJ has to bring the case to trial and we need to see Gabi in court, or drop the charges and then Gabi should be released to come home. I mean, the only way for her to just up and disappear from Statesville is an off-screen prison break or death. And of course, death in Salem, it's not really that deadly. So since Brandon is definitely still on contract and Stefan is constantly name dropping her, I expect that the Gabi recast may already be filming, because they filmed 6 months out. So even if we're talking a couple of months ahead of now, she already would have begun filming. So I think we're going to see recast Gabi early 2024, whether it's Shuri Jimenez, Ferris, or somebody else. We'll see. All right, that's it for our Days and Comings and Goings update. Please subscribe if you haven't and drop your comments. If this is the new Gabi, what do you think of her look? And have you seen Lauren Koslow's name in the credits after October 30th? I looked. I don't know, unless my eyes were messing with me, and who knows. And I hope you're not one of those who believe the outrageous tabloids that Brandon was exiting Days. Are you happy to know he's still on contract and not what those liars said? So drop your comments and come back soon, because we are here talking Days 7 days a week. And as always, it's Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.